The first thing that comes to mind in terms of what kind of exacerbates the issue that we want to not take responsibility, but blame somebody else for some result that we may or may not have responsibility for, is there's three things that I think stand in the way of that, and they all start with a T. One is trust, and that is it's really hard to be blameless, and it's really hard to create an environment of where you really surface issues that are troublesome if there's not a trusting environment. And so I think trust is really important. The second is tradition. You know, the latest tradition in our schools has been about accountability in looking at it from a strictly academic point of view and in a couple of academic subjects. And so everything else gets dismissed or diminished in terms of what's important by surfacing in our tradition the what's important in our schools. And what we said is important in our schools is language, arts, math, and science. And so we have to overcome the trust piece, we have to overcome the tradition piece. The third T is the territory piece. And so when you talk to a lot of teachers, they talk about teaching subjects and not about teaching kids. And I think that's really important. So if we could help schools create trusting environments, if we could help them reverse the tradition of blame and accountability being for some single subject knowledge, and if we could look at the territory as being more pervasive and more level, saying we're all responsible for every young person in our school, regardless of whether they're in our class or not, so that they're our kids, they're not your kids, and so that it's our school, it's not their school, and it's our classes, not my class. I think it'll go a long way toward reversing the trend of the blame and the shame. And I think the no fault, is a little bit misnamed. I think what we need to look at is it's our responsibility to raise the capacity of all of our stakeholders to provide quality education for all students. So we should always be looking at data to improve. And the fault now is we use data to blame or shame and reward. But let's use data as a diagnostic tool, and let's look at test results and say, how do we get better? If my students are not doing this one calculus problem well, how can I do it better? How can I teach it better? What kind of pedagogy can I use? So I would say if we can build trust, reduce and reverse the tradition of blame, and if we can advance a territory where they're our kids and our school as opposed to my class and my kids and my subject, I think we'll go a long way toward narrowing that gap.